Hi everyone, welcome again to my YouTube channel. My name is Toby Uluide and I remain your host here on Metamorphosis with Toby. It is always a pleasure to record new episodes here on Metamorphosis with Toby. And so if this is your first time on this channel, kindly subscribe to this channel, click the like button, share, ask questions, comment, support your girl as always. And for our returning viewers, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for always coming back and showing your support. Please do share, comment, ask questions, like, and feel free to reach out and do whatever you want. Thank you so much. And so today I have with me wonderful friends that we will be talking about something really important. And we know October is here, Nigeria's independence. And whenever this video is up, happy Independence Day to Nigeria. Anyway, so I have here with me, first I have a first timer. If you have been listening to our podcast Metamorphosis with Toby, we have somebody here. We have two people here who have always been on this channel, but we have one very special somebody today. Today is his first time on our channel, and we are really happy to have him in our midst. He is none other than Kola Wole Arowogun. Thank you so much for coming, Kola.
Oh, thank you for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. All right, so in all, I just want to say that we are in the hands of scholars today, so we would really be enjoying our episode today. And also, I'd like to say thank you to Timileyin Adejumobi, popularly known as Baby Lawyer. Thank you so much, Baby Lawyer, for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much for having me too.
All right, and finally, so I already promised myself today that I wasn't going to be somehow introducing this person, but you always know, the one and only Fifi, my one and only Fifi. Anyways, I have Fisayo Ogudoro in the house. Thank you so much, Fisayo.
It's a pleasure being here.
All right, so today, just like I said earlier, we want to talk about something really important, and it's something that touches on our country. We're all Nigerians here, irrespective of wherever we are, we're still Nigerians. And so today we want to talk about the educational system in Nigeria, or rather the state of education in Nigeria. So in the course of preparing for this episode, I did look at a few things, like the statistics of say the statistics on out-of-school children in Nigeria, the statistics on the poor performances. Yeah, I say poor. I know I could have said the performances, but I'm really saying poor performances of students in Nigeria. But before we go on to statistics and touching on the background, I just want to ask my guest here today to talk about what it's like being a student. And anyone could go, just your general thoughts on you being a student as a whole, maybe in Nigeria versus here, or...
Okay.
Yeah, we can have anyone. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take the lead. Being a student, I think even all through for me, like even till now, I'm still a student.
Okay.
It's been demanding. That's what I would say. Like I would call it, like it's demanding. In a sentence, it's demanding. Being a student is demanding.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, can I go?
Yes, sure.
I'm in Nigeria.
Wow, Nigerians, don't worry.
I'm in Nigeria. I know. I'm in Nigeria, not I'm a Nigerian.
I know. So, I'm not saying we are all Nigerians.
Nigeria. This is torturing.
No, please.
It's not easy being a student in Nigeria.
Okay.
I think it's not easy being a student in Nigeria, and in the face of the demanding nature of education, it's also inconveniencing. And the inconveniencing part of it is not the part that education brings itself. It's the part that is caused by the system. So
Okay.
it's quite
Thank you.
interesting.
All right, that's good to hear. How about you, Colin?
Yeah, I think being a student, either in the United States or in Nigeria, is kind of exacting. It's taxing, and but of course, it is fun too. You get to like learn, stretch your mind, and try to see how far you could go, learn new things, and get new skills. Yeah, I think it's worth it in the end. So I enjoy being one, at least for the time it will last.
For the time it will last. I like that. I like that part. All right. So today we have all come together to talk about education, the educational system in Nigeria. And like I said, that I have like a general background or a foundation upon which we want to talk about our discourse, or upon we want to tackle this topic today, or this issue. And so we for the statistics, the recent UNESCO, that's the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, recently they put out a data, I think in just this September, that Nigeria has about 20 million out of school children. And that is really, really, at first I thought it was maybe some form of exaggeration, but then when I dug deeper into all of this, I did see that for the northern part it's really, really bleaker. It's like so obvious and really steep for them in that in the northern region of the country, and getting back to school is greatly, really, really challenging, such that it's just so many things to touch on. And that statistics is really, really high. And I did also see that there were lots of things or statistics that talk about the poor performances of students currently in school. I just wanted to put that out before we talk about this, starting from the statistics of people who are out of school at the moment. Yeah, anyone wants to maybe jump on it? You agree, disagree, you think this, or maybe it's just an exaggeration? Okay, I see Fisayo smiling.
Okay.
Oh, anyone? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think numbers sometimes don't really like tell the whole truth. But regarding this, I think numbers are alarming, and it's something that should give every one of us, every Nigerian, a sleepless night. 30 million. I think to be more exact, I think they put the number something around 18.5 million as at the end of the second quarter this year. And that's staggering, considering the fact that that's almost like 1/9 of the entire population of the country. Most of these out of school children are even people who cannot like afford basic educations like primary school as something that's basic and decent. And that's a whole lot of problem. That's something huge. That's something that we should tackle holistically. Of course, when it's time to like talk about the solutions and everything, we could. But for now, I think the numbers are not looking too good for us as a country. And, the future is not bright with the numbers that I've seen. It's not.
All right, thank you so much. I think someone wanted to go.
Yes, I was going to say that it's terrifying, it's scary. I wish I had the percentage of the dropout or out of school children we have in Nigeria some 2 decades ago. I wish I had a research of the percentage rate of out of school children 2 decades ago, or 3 decades ago, or even 4, and then ask what is the impact.
Comparison.
Yes, and ask what's the comparison, what's the effect of it in this modern day. And whatever the case looks like, if we look at the situation of the country presently, it's not interesting. And we cannot deny the fact that what has come to play is also the role of education that has fallen beyond standard, or people who have not gotten what quality education should be like. So if it can be like this now, let's just imagine how it's going to be like when we have those good numbers of children that are out of school. What does it hold for the nearest 2 decades, 3 decades in the future? So it's really, really disturbing.
Okay. All right, Fisayo, I think you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, basically that number is, if I'm right, is just for those in primary school level. It doesn't even extend to those in the what's it called, secondary school education, which for me, primary and secondary school are basic at first. The basic, even if you might not want to go, one might not want to go further, I feel like primary, secondary are basic education, which I believe everyone should have. So it's quite challenging and alarming to see that we are still I think like 20 million was around like 2020. It was like 20 million. Now it's 18.5, which we could assume that maybe like 1% change or about 2% change is maybe growth or success, but it's nowhere success because there's still more work to be done.
Yes. So I think where I got this data, mine was, I think that they said it was some form of longitudinal, like a decade kind of analysis. So it went through, yes, for about 4. Yeah. All right. So but then they did say something that really stood out. What the statistic says is that it's more for the north. It's more in the northern region than other regions in the country. Would you agree? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree that it's more in the north.
Okay.
And in other parts of Nigeria. And I'm going to tie that to maybe their culture or their religion that doesn't really see the value in education. Because if you look at policies some state government in the south are implementing, you realize that it makes more sense. I mean, the state of education, the state of student participation or going to school. And we can also talk about the fact that the insecurity in the north has really displaced so many of them. Adding up these factors, you see that we don't have the challenges that they have up there. The Boko challenge, coupled with their religious view, so those things make the difference.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anyone can jump on it if you have anything to say.
Oh yes, like Tim Lane said, culture and religion has really played a huge role in the high level of your out-of-school children in northern Nigeria, and also insecurity too. Like, I mean, as recent as just like a month, 2 months ago, schools in primary, secondary schools in Abuja were shut because of fear of herdsmen or terrorists or something coming in to like invade or capture them. And then let's not forget the Dapchi girls, the Chibok girl crisis. I mean, those are the things that should that probably would disincentivize education for people like, oh, why should I go to school if I'm not like secured or safe in the classroom? So yeah, I think the numbers for the north is expected to be higher, significantly at least compared to the southern Nigeria. But all in all, for me, whether the north or the south, I still think it's a menace. It's distressing to hear those numbers, and they're not looking good for us as a nation. They're not.
All right, thank you so much. Fisaya, do you have anything to add to that?
None. I think they've said It's all.
Okay. All right. So we
Well,
would agree.
sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, when we probe for that, when we look into it deeply, we look at the cultural aspect,
Mhm.
the North, and their religious aspect and their religious view. We see that their religious view has really affected their culture or influenced their culture. And we realize that the Northerners simply hold the high esteem learning Arabic and their religion, Quran, and all those. They hold that to esteem, and that enough is sufficient for them. Look at their view about marriage. We'll see that the early marriage thing is now also going to allow education to be something of importance.
To
And
try.
apart from that, when somebody have that kind of view, you can imagine what the poverty level would be like. And when the poverty level skyrockets, you can also imagine how less important education is going to be and how unaffordable an affordable education would be
It
to
would
them.
be.
Now,
All right. So I would.
in a region,
Okay. Go
in a
ahead.
region, in a region already bedeviled with these factors I've just said, now imagine the place of terrorism, insecurity. It's like adding sort of an injury. So the whole thing makes it a mess, the most in the North.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your further explanation. But I would like to touch on the part that you talked about the Arabic learning or some other form of learning as opposed to what we know as the normal learning system or education. So that brings me
Western education.
to yes, Western education. Thank you. So that brings me to my next question, which is, what exactly is education? What exactly should we call education?
Okay. So for me, what I call education is a quote that I have lived by and I'm still living by. And it is from Albert Einstein that says that the aim of education must be the training of independently acting and thinking individuals who, however, can see in the service to the community their highest life achievements. So, we've come to see education as this lettered ABC, numbered 1, 2, 3. And when you look at physics and all the laws of thermodynamics and all the biology and all, yes, that's education. That's the process of being learned. But when you look at education in the broader scheme of things, is the transformation that comes with you. Because when you learn something, you're not just learning for learning's sake. There is a purpose is going to achieve. There is that transformation you want it to actually achieve. So education for us is every day, is daily, is not just boxed within a confines of a school environment or a teacher-student interaction. It's bigger and it's more about what can I do around me that can change the world? What can I do around me that can actually change the life of someone? So that's education.
Okay. Color, we can have you.
Okay, yes. Before I even answer that, I'd like to say something about what Timile said the other time about how religion has played a huge role in education in the North. I think, well, that's valid. But when we probe deeper, we will see that that may not totally be the case. Because if you look at the prominent religion in the North, you realize that the religion is still being practiced by a significant number of people here in the South too. And yet, so I think it is more of the culture supplanting the place of religion. I think it's more of the cultures that have been driven into religion, and people now see it as religion. Because you look at so many other countries in the world who practice the same religion, and you still realize that education is still a huge thing there. Go to the Saudi Arabia, our friends in Dubai, some of them in all these other countries. So I believe it's more of a cultural thing, and of course the recklessness of the political class too, who probably wants to keep the people perpetually like uneducated so that they can be a willing tool in their hands for election or electoral purpose. And for the education, for me, like Fisayo said, I think she described it aptly. I mean, nobody could describe education better than Einstein. It's simply for me the training of the mind to think. And I don't think it's something that is confined to the walls of classroom only or confined to the Western education only. I think our grandmother, our grandparents were educated. I don't think before my grandmother died in 2002, God bless her soul, I think it would be unfair to call her someone who is not educated. Of course, I could say she doesn't have the Western education, but I can tell you she's a repertoire of knowledge. She could say things and feel like, oh, wow. So for so long, we have been made to believe that the idea of Western education is the only education. And for me, that is the foundation of where the problem lies with the education. It lacks some form of awareness of the fact that our culture and the things around us, if we are aware of those things, they are enough education on their own, rather than saying, oh, I must have a bachelor's, I must have a master's. Of course, there is a place for schooling, there's a place for all those things. But I think the basics of education should be about learning things within you, around you, that subconscious, being able to like incorporate things you've learned into your everyday life, your habits. I feel like that's a very vital part of education. And like I said, schooling may end. You may say, oh, after your PhD, probably that's probably like the last stage of schooling. But I don't think education ends. We still get to like learn, to relearn and unlearn. And like Alvin Toffler said, he said the greatest illiterate of the 21st century are not just those who did not learn, but those who cannot unlearn and relearn things.
Relearn. Yeah.
So I think education, it's a whole world, and it's very wide. It's transcend the wall of classrooms. I mean, there are many certified people who hold degrees, but in their everyday interaction, you could tell like, oh, I don't think this one is educated enough. So it's kind of a wide thing.
Yes, and so that also reminds me what you both have said. Reminds me of something that I picked from one of my discussions with somebody recently, and we somewhat ended with saying that education is what is left of you after you have forgotten maybe everything you have learned in school, everything that they have taught you. This is how to do this, but the other things that remain with you, that those are that is you being educated. Yeah, baby lawyer, do you have an addition?
Yeah, I was going to say that we can look at, we've said it all. I was going to add that I see education as a systematic learning process that of acquiring knowledge and basic skills. But that is what we look at education as basically. But beyond that, education is like a beacon of light that brightens the mind. And like Saya said, makes one independent in thought and act. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for explaining what education is, should be, should not, or is not. And I think that one thing that we can really bring out from all every one of us have said is that education has to do with the mind, and it has to do with learning, relearning, and it's just the growth of your mind, and not just basically what you get to learn in class and all. And so our next question, moving on, and from the fact that we already put it out there for at the incipient stage that there's a high or increasing number of out of school students in Nigeria. And also I did find that some research did show that students in Nigeria are doing really, really poorly. And so I would like us to talk about what we think beyond just the North now, the Nigeria as a country, what we think are the causes of all of this, because we know that there's the issue of ASUU, there's the issue of, for me, I think that there's also the issue of maybe curriculum, teacher training, and all of those. So I just want us to dig deeper into what exactly are these causes.
So currently, I kind of, in a way, work with public school people.
Okay.
So I've been doing this WAEC thing, and last year, for instance, the way we did the WAEC payment thingy, we actually, like my friend in particular, did like a lesson. He got a special teacher that we paid. So he taught them, we selected the students, even though like their math and English, like the grade was poor when we were selecting the students. So, but when it came out after the training, like at least about, and more than an average of them had like five credits, including math and English. Okay. So this year, when we wanted to do the project again, it was like it was so rushed because there was no time, because last year COVID delayed. So I was just thinking like, okay, it's gonna be like last year, maybe they would push it, like the exam will start late. So we didn't have the time to like go through the process. And also I changed the person handling last year was not the person that handled this year. Okay. So it was a different ball game. So we just had to say, okay, let's just do the exam and just select students and let them go and write exam. So there was no training apparently. So now, currently, the challenge we're having with the students is that many of them they were like, hey, they didn't pass the exam. Why are we asking them for their grades and all? They weren't the one that paid for the exam, you get? So they are not like concerned about the grade. So they just like, it's like seeing one money somewhere and just jumping on it. So the grades was, the ones that have their grade, the grades were very poor. So what is that telling me? Is the fact that one is, because I want to work with public school students and private school students. I know private school students, some are still having their challenges, but I think those ones, their parents are more interested and still a little bit struggling to get the money. But for public school students, their parents are in the informal labor sector. They are not so well educated and all. And even those that are even in the formal labor sector and still have money, they are not much more so concerned about the education. The thinking is just like, oh, my children are also like, they will still go back to this thing that I'm doing. So that's what I'm doing, like working with public school students. So what did I see from there is that there's no like self-motivation. And we're talking about education in the Western education level, because we have defined that education is not limited to Western education. So we have to broadly say that kind of like our conversation here is majorly about Western education.
Mm-hmm. True.
Students are not really they're not really interested, number one. Number two is that this one that even made number one could be even the last one. So the first thing more is about the teachers, the school. How are teachers teaching? So teachers also, even from like feedback from my friend, like teachers are also demotivated. And I know most of the time we all want to blame it on salary, no salary. But and that's one thing I always say, I kind of might not find myself being in the teaching line. Why? Because there's something about teaching it's just like medicine. Is the passion and the willingness to truly give. And that's what distinguishes good teachers from bad teachers or teachers that just want to be working for earning money, because teaching is like a life job. That's why some people will say that thingy, which is not good, like, oh, their
reward is in heaven.
Their reward is in heaven, which is bad. But I feel like teachers are demotivated. So they are not so much interested in there are times that resources are not so good, but there are also strategic ways of making students learn. I've met the different teachers, and some teachers will teach you and you will learn, and gradually you pick. So teachers are also demotivated. They are not motivated. Also, the public, normally this is not a news. We can see it with ASUU. The government is not doing anything about education. They are least interested in what happens with Western education, because nobody is even working to actually build Western education to the Western people's standards in the contemporary world in the 21st century. So that training is also, the demotivation is there. Students are not interested. So and then also is also the challenge of everyone wanting to go to school. I feel like school should not be like for everybody at times, even though primary and secondary are very important, but because at the end of the day, if you are not motivated in going to school, why are you in school? So there's no motivation from the part of the teachers. There is no motivation for the part of the student. And there is no motivation for the part of the parents, because when parents are not interested in something, there is little to what they can actually do to push their children. So all those things, like, they are just like interwoven. I don't want to talk about the government, because maybe those are part of like solutions later, but the government has always shown us every time and every day that they are not interested, because even understaffing in the public school system, there is huge understaffing in the public school system. And I know what my mom would go through when she was a principal. Like, they would have to look for teachers around to teach their student biology. I've also been to public school. So I went to public school. So I know what it means to actually be in public school. The curriculums are not up to date. Teachers, imagine you are in SS3 and you are still learning what they are teaching in SS1. So the demotivation on the part of teachers, the demotivation on the part of parents, the demotivation on the part of even the government. So, but I'd really say I don't want to go to the government. So that's what I would say.
All right, thank you so much, Fisayo. I know you did touch on a couple of things, but I would like us to hear from Tim Lane. Tim Lane is a teacher.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this expressly, and I feel Fisaya said a lot. And what I'm going to say would be a development of what Fisaya said. And if there are new things that we can still see. To me, education in Nigeria is unrealistic. It is not genuine. When you believe in something, there's an attitude you have towards that thing you believe.
Yes.
You invest your time in it, you invest your resources in it. And everybody who sees you doing all those practical efforts, those measurable efforts, they see that, no, this boy is up to something. He believes in this thing. Now, for education, it's not like that in Nigeria. For the illiterate, for parents who do not have access to, who do not believe in education, and for even some parents in the average class, lower class, they see education as just a routine. I'm not wanting to go look at it from the tertiary institution, from the advanced level. Now I'm looking at it from the primary and secondary level. So they see it like, just don't stay in the house. Like what you do subconsciously, just don't stay in the house like a routine, just go to school. And they don't even know why they are going to school. You get, and you see parents who just believe that after this stage, you have to move to the next stage.
The next stage.
The next stage in the sense that, okay, after this exam academic year, you just have to move to the next academic year. Forgetting the fact that, okay, your performance has to push you to the next year. So they see it like a routine. Just do it. So they don't believe in it. It's unrealistic. It's not genuine. And sometimes it forces me to ask myself that this Western education we do in Nigeria, maybe it's not for us. Maybe it's not going to work. Maybe we should look at our own educational system, which I really do not know. No, but I feel it's not realistic. I feel the attitude towards it shows that education is not a genuine concept or thing. And I see it as if so many people who are involved, who make their children go through it, see it as just a mere routine. You are just doing it because you don't know why you are doing it. You are doing it because you make people doing it. They say this is the way. And so you just put
So we
your
we, we
child
all
in
should
it.
follow. All right. So
Now,
as a teacher, what do you think about the curriculum?
and to be really honest with you, I do not think that the curriculum is bad. I
Okay.
feel Nigeria has good. I do not think the curriculum is bad, maybe because I have not been. I think the curriculum is tailored to meet the need of the milieu.
Okay.
If we, and that does not mean that that's sufficient. It shows that we have not really evolved. We have not really developed to develop our curriculum to meet up global standard. We are still in one level, and the curriculum is meant to take care of the level that we are in. So if we try to ante it up, try to do something more sophisticated than what it is, we might not have people to render that service, because I'm not sure they are sufficiently equipped to render a higher curriculum. The curriculum is okay to me, but even that curriculum we think we have, how well are we really utilizing it? You know, and this also affects the quality of
All right.
education.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you so much.
the
Go ahead.
okay.
No, go
Now,
ahead.
the thing is this. I was going to link it up with the poor performance.
Okay.
Now, children take note of things. They notice all those things. They know when you are sincere. They know when you are sincere about something, when something is real and genuine and means so much to you. It's not by what you say, it's about what you do. And not just about what you do consciously, it's about how they perceive your subconscious attitude towards that thing. So the children too, in a way, subconsciously or not, they sense that this education is not real because the forebearers don't take it, don't hold it as something real and genuine, and they also don't believe in it. And the whole thing is the handwriting is everywhere, every wall around them at home, and they don't seem to see the essence of education per se. And from things happening in the government, in the day-to-day, the whole thing is just not real and genuine.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Kola. I see you've been nodding.
It's been a long wait. Yeah. Oh, I think Fisaya and Timilenya have really done justice to it. They've touched on the critical part of the issue. But I want to add one thing, which for me is it's universal to a lot of issues that Nigeria has. It's not just peculiar to education only. I think for so long, we have not really philosophized any part of our existence as a nation. Neither our education, our governance, or politics. As a people, I don't think we've actually sat down and asked ourselves, what we are doing, is it working? I don't think we've done that introspection. Okay, if it is not, how do we go about it? How do we improve this? There are several countries in the world that tends to in fact, virtually every country in the world creates education to suit their needs. I've read about some schools in the Scandinavians, which really are very good basic education system. How they probably start classes maybe 11 or 12 in the afternoon and close within 2-3 hours. How, different. I think we've not done that. We've not really experiment with things to know what actually works for us. And I think we need to do that to education, because the idea of the education handed over to us by the colonial era, my dad would say it's an education that is just meant to teach you how to read and write and earn a living. It's not an education that is meant to really liberate you. So I think speaking from that angle, I think the three people that are involved, what I call the tripod of education, is the government, even though Fisao says she's not talking about the government. I will talk about the students, which are probably like the end product of the education, and then we talk about the society. If you look at these three, I mean, we can heap all the blame on the student. They are not motivated. You can, but sometimes the level of motivation you have is almost dependent on things that are happening within and around you.
Mm-hmm.
In our society today, education is not really seen as something that needs to be like exalted. We've had presidents, senators who do not even have the basic education requirements.
Sure.
So, I mean, if as a student, I can see all this, then why should anybody tell me, oh, this is it, I must do this? That probably has a lot to do with the motivation. When I was growing up, I think by the way I grew up, I spent a lot of my formative years in the staff quarters where my parents works. And my mom has been a librarian for like over 3 decades now. And what I had in my head, I think at 11, 12, 13, 15, was the fact that education is my own ticket to see the world. I believe that my social mobility can only be achieved through education. So it puts it in my subconsciousness like, you don't want to mess up your grade. You don't want to do this. But today, I don't think that is the case again. People don't really see education. They've seen people around them who have blown, using that word, from the most inane things.
Sure.
I mean, that is demotivating. There's no incentives for them to really like want to learn this thing. And the same can be said of the teachers too. Many of the teachers I've thought before, I thought for a year, about 1.5 years mostly the private schools. And I've come to realize that even the teachers are not doing it because they want to do it or because they enjoy it or they want to. They're just doing it to just keep body and soul till that good job comes.
Mm.
When I did it, that was the aim. Okay, let's do this till we get a great job or we go back to school too. So I think a lot needs to be done on the path of the society. Then the government, I mean, at the end of the day, we are the people who occupy the government too. Like, we are the ones who make up the government. When you look at the subset of the people in government too are still us. So I think it's a societal issue. Like, the people are not motivated to really educate themselves. Teachers are not really like encouraged. The incentive is not great, and the recruitment process is not being fair too. Most times in the public schools, like, you see people teaching and you feel like, should this one even be a teacher or a farmer? I mean, no offense to farmers, but you know that this one is what I call a misfit, or what my uncle will say is not. He will say the word like, oh, there are many people call themselves teachers, but indeed they are just cheaters, because they are not teaching the students, rather they are cheating them. So I think we have a lot to do about reconstructing the societal order. We need to show that, we need to let young people know that education is still very important. Even if you want to like do any other things, be an athlete, be a musician. And I think this is a problem that cuts across a whole lot of other countries. I think in America here too, they have the issues too. I was reading some couple of articles some few months back, I think in New York Times, when they were talking like how Americans now see, average Americans want to be a movie star, a singer. They do not want to like study, go to school, get education in sciences, get training. So I think the motivation is no longer there. And I think that's one thing we need to work on as a society. And for the curriculum, well, I think something is wrong with the curriculum, even though Timilay disagrees with me. But I still think something is wrong with the curriculum, because in a situation whereby when I was in JSS1, I was taking as much as 16 classes, 13, JSS1 to 3. I think it was when I got to SS2 that I started taking 9. From JS1 to SS1, I was taking like 15, 16. I mean, that's a whole lot. I think we are putting too much stress on young people to learn. And that's why learning is no longer fun. It's no longer things that are excited about. It's just something they want to do as a rite of passage. Just to like, okay, my mom said we should go to school. Let's just go eat and fulfill our righteousness. They say we're in SS1 today. Let's move to SS2 next year. So I think we really need to restructure a lot of things in the education, in the curriculum. Try to see if we can merge some of the classes together, perhaps some that are not even very useful to us, we can. And another point of the education I think we need to work on is the language of delivery of this education. I mean, if you look at great countries in the world who have made giant stride in sciences, in technology, in engineering, in math, many of them have that subject delivered to them in their very own language. I think that's one thing we've not been able to do, and it's kind of a bit distressing for me, and it shows how we think and how, as a society, how we organize ourselves. Because the Bible has been translated to Yoruba as early as probably several years before I was born. I think there's an Igbo version of the Quran today, even despite the fact that just a very few percentage of Igbos are Muslim. That's to tell you that the extent our people go when they want things to work, when they want to spread the so-called gospel or the good news. But why can't we put the same effort into sitting down, asking people to come, professor of mathematics, career professionals, professional teachers, language specialists? Let's try, and even if it's just one subject, okay, let's try and deliver this in our language first. Even if it's not just language that is, okay, let's say it's not Yoruba, it's not Hausa or Igbo. Let's even say, okay, it's Pidgin, something that is more relatable. We should have been able to do this. If you can do it for the Bible, if you can do it for the Quran, I mean, we can do it for any other subject too. It's just about certain timelines and the commitment of that purpose. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on, but let me just stop there for now.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all of that. I did catch a few things. I think I'll start from the last one where you talked about translation. And I think recently there was something there was one video on Instagram, I think a Ghanaian, talking about education and how this Westerners brought education to us in form of lies and all of that, to cheat us and all of that, because the only thing, like you said, that they were able to translate was what came in form of their religion. And that was the only thing that they really did translate to our own languages. But how about translating or teaching in languages? Because recently I was introduced to a few Italians. These people are really, really smart people, and they just went on and on talking about the way they spoke their English. I know it was kind of, they were maybe struggling, but they speak English because they are currently in America. But they kept on talking about the things, the schooling in Italy, the things they have learned in Italy, in their language, their thesis in their own language, books or about interesting or good topics, maybe in machine learning or something, but in their own language and all of that. So yes, thank you so much for really touching on the fact that yes, we need to philosophize as a country what really works for us. How exactly can we go on with all of this? Because it seems like really nothing is working. We know that there are some people, yes, some people have grown to move beyond. Okay, yes, we passed through the educational system in Nigeria and gone outside the country and are doing well. What do you think? Do you think that, I know that obviously there's something wrong, because you see people, even naturally, you would have seen people, maybe you were in the same class in Nigeria, and you know that these people were not doing, like, I don't want to say you write them off, but once they are out, you will be surprised at how fine and how good they are really doing. So I think that, yes, I think we have touched on it. I don't want us to go back again, but I think that there's something just needs to be done in our own country as to or regarding education. And also you said something about the tripod. I know you said the students, you said the parents, the government. I think I would want to switch it now to say the tripod regarding the next